All right, what is up, No Pants Nation? I'm here today with my very good friend Ryan Reed. He is a freelance music journalist. He writes for the Rolling Stone, Billboard, Relics Magazine. The list goes on and on. Ryan, if you would, just take a minute, tell us who you are, where you're from, and what is your favorite interview of all time.
Ooh, well, hello, everybody. Ryan Reed here. I am originally from Williamsburg, Kentucky. Currently live in Knoxville, Tennessee. And like Ron said there, I write for a lot of places, mainly about music. And that's my passion. That's what I love to do. Favorite interview of all time is Peter Gabriel because he is my personal hero and favorite musician. I interviewed him in 2011, I believe it was, for Paste. And that was just a huge, huge thrill. I was terrified because he's my hero, so I was basically sweating the entire time. But yeah, it was amazing.
So, Peter Gabriel
A
from the
little bit on
band,
the band Genesis.
just so anyone out
Original.
there doesn't know, isn't into the prog scene.
Yes. Yes. Genesis is my number one band of all time. Peter Gabriel, the former lead singer, and he left in 1975, had a solo career and became a big pop star. But man, for me, that was insane. I called up, actually, no, they called me. His assistant calls me, and it's this very polite British lady. And in Tennessee, you don't really encounter a lot of polite British ladies. So it was very odd to hear, hello, this is whatever her name is with Peter Gabriel. And I just about lost it. My heart starts racing out of my chest. But I made it through the interview, and it was the most surreal thing. I called my wife afterward. My wife is equally a huge Genesis and Peter Gabriel fan, and we just gushed for about 30 minutes. I still have the recording on my computer like a nerd, and yeah, it was amazing. That's why I wanted to do this job, to be able to do things like that, talk to my heroes, write about the music that I love.
That's crazy. I thought when I asked this question that it would be like something more recent, but that's like 6 years ago.
Yeah, that's been a long time. It doesn't feel that long ago, but when I think about it, yeah, it wasn't that long into starting my career. Yeah, a couple years maybe.
Okay.
Maybe it was 2012. I mean, it's been 5, 6 years ago. So
Okay.
yeah, it
So
seems really weird that like my favorite thing. Yeah, it's been 5, 6
it's
years ago now.
well, it's
No, that's
you peaked
been,
early, so that was
yeah,
good.
it's all downhill. It's slide ever since. No.
So take us back to those first couple of years. Like, what is your kind of background? Like, how'd you get started writing, interested in music?
Yeah, so just music wise, I mean, music's been my passion since I was a little kid. I mean, my parents even had video of me just being like 4 years old, dancing to music, like having headphones on. Just it's been the thing that's like the running thread through my life is music. So I mean, and then I started, just became obsessed with listening to music and buying back in the day CDs and just yeah, that was just everything. And then started playing music when I was a teenager, but I also loved to write as well. So I had those kind of two passions, writing and music. And I also started reading, music publications like Rolling Stone and just other print magazines. This is kind of pre-internet. And then just knew that's secretly what I, not secretly, but deep down what I wanted to do. I even remember when I was a senior in high school, we had to do this nerdy, I think, an English class where you had to write down your kind of a letter to yourself, what you wanted to do in 10 years. And I said, I want to be a Rolling Stone journalist. And so I've actually made that happen, which is like the biggest thing that I'm like, I'm proud of myself for that. But so that's always been what I wanted to do, just if I could do it, but it seemed like a crazy, unrealistic dream.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, in college, majored in English, and because I didn't really know what I wanted to do realistically, I thought the music journalism thing was maybe, I've got a 1 out of 100 chance of doing that, but I need something more practical. So majored in English, minored in journalism. My real plan, I guess the practical plan was I'll try to write for a newspaper, just a local newspaper. And even though also not the most I guess, practical plan either, because the print media has not been. I think there was even a recent survey of some kind saying like this is the worst paying in terms of your like the amount of work you put into it, and just probably the least the career that people would encourage you to take on the least, just the financial aspects of it. But not to say that people shouldn't. Anyway, that's a digression. Because I thought I would write for a newspaper. I even made some inroads with a couple local papers. I even wrote some sports stuff, which seems weird now. I mean, I love basketball, and I wrote a few sports articles, but I didn't really know what I was going to do for sure. So graduated with the English degree, and then kind of worked out well because I got this graduate assistant job at the college. And basically, it was just kind of taking care of local stuff at the college English department. And while I was doing that, I started teaching these adjunct college classes, and that left me a lot of free time to kind of do other stuff. I was making a little bit of money from it, not a whole lot, but enough to pay the bills. And I thought, if I'm ever going to try this music journalism thing, this is probably the time to do it. So this was about late 2009, 2010, and the big thing was there was a website, still is a website called popmatters.com. And it's a really good website. They cover just every aspect of pop culture. And they had this open call, which I believe they still have, just for music writers, critics, journalists. And they said, if you want to write about music, basically kind of send a resume, and you have to write a sample article. And if we like you, we'll get in touch, and then you can basically become a staff writer. So I did that, and I ended up getting that. I just kind of did it on a whim. I said, I'm going to try this. And I got that, and it was unpaid. So it was just, purely for the love of it. But I knew that because music journalism is such a weird profession, it's not like you just get a staff writer job somewhere with having no experience. It's not like you can just say, I want to do that. And then just, here you go, please take me. So I knew I guess just instinctively, really, it's not like I did much research or anything, but that really is the route that most people go. You kind of have to do unpaid writing for a while and just kind of work your way up the rungs of the ladder. So that's what I did. I wrote for Pop Matters, and I loved that, and basically got a lot of experience there. Ended up becoming an editor there, an associate editor. I also got a position at a site called Consequence of Sound, which has now become one of the biggest music and culture sites out there, but at the time they were still kind of growing. Got that, so I did that for a while. Excuse me. And so that was all unpaid, and then just gradually started getting paid stuff to where the ratio started to switch. So, about 2010, late 2010, started to get things like Billboard, started to write for them, Paste, and just it just started switching to where, maybe 80% of my stuff was paid, 20% was unpaid. And then, just kind of a little bit by bit. And I guess by probably mid 2011 or so, I believe that's accurate, it was 100% paid. So that's pretty much from then on, it's been the same for me. I've still taught these college classes, as you know, Mr. McNutt. I've been doing that ever since, just because I felt like I needed to keep that. Just, I guess it's a freelancer's thing. I'm sure people could relate to this, but there's just always this paranoia that you feel like the rug's going to get pulled out from under you or something. And so I've kept that. I've kept the teaching just as a baseline kind of thing, if worst ever came to worst. But yeah, I'm still writing. So it took probably 6-8 months, I would say, of some unpaid work, but gradually I just eliminated the unpaid stuff. And that's what as a writer, you're constantly like trying to advance just a little bit. And so sometimes you're cutting assignments that you normally would have taken before. It's always just a state of flux, I think, when you're a freelancer.
For sure. So there was a lot of stuff in there. I want to unpack a couple things.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of ranted for a while.
No, it's good. It's all good stuff in there. But one of the things is the paranoia, like all the time. It doesn't matter what level you're at, because like with Kate and I, we never feel like we've made it. It's always like, well, it's good today, but tomorrow, who knows?
exactly. I can relate.
So yeah. So with freelancers, because it is, I mean, there's the flexibility, all the great things of freelancing, but it's not the consistent. So you've still had, we've got a lot of freelancers who still have full-time jobs or part-time jobs, and
Yeah,
they keep that to kind of funnel into their side hustle or their real
yeah,
passionate thing.
totally. Yeah, that's yeah. Sorry, I'm guessing you were going to ask about how I handle that, or
Yeah. Do you, so you're still teaching?
yeah, still doing it, and I guess like you said, it comes from that fear of, is stuff going to dry up tomorrow? Like, yeah,
Hmm.
exactly what you just said. Like, I feel great today. I got a bunch of assignments. I'm set for the next 3 months. Money's looking good. I know that I've
Hmm.
made what I want to make, but when you're a freelancer, because there's no guarantee, and especially, I mean, I don't know how it is for other freelance writers who are in different careers, but for me, it's like knowing how difficult it is to get work as a music journalist and how weird of a career this is. It's just such an odd career choice. And I
Hmm.
feel like the assignments there aren't that many of them, and everybody's kind of fighting for the same pack of assignments. I mean, there's only X number of websites and print magazines out there. Everybody wants those assignments that pay.
Hmm.
So it feels like sometimes I'm always looking over my shoulder, like, who's this new person's going to come in and they're better than me and they're going to steal it, and I'm already old and I suck and I'm a loser. I mean, I'm already a very self-conscious person. I beat myself up all the time anyway, but man, this line of work just makes you do that. But yeah, I mean, it's worth it. It's totally worth it. But yeah, it's hard sometimes to not feel that paranoia. So that's why I kept the teaching. It's just because I can't quite eliminate it. I feel like I could have stopped it probably right when I really started getting full-time writing. I mean, I was making enough from it to where making what I feel like I would have made as a teacher probably.
Hmm.
I felt okay I could probably, like, if I were a high school teacher and use my master's, if I'd gone that route. I feel like I'm in that position right now. But so probably 3 years ago, I could have stopped doing it. I could have stopped the teaching, but it's just hard. It's like I feel like I'm in this apocalyptic mindset, like
Hmm.
everything is just going to fall to pieces tomorrow, and all my gigs are going to shut down, or they're going to replace me with a robot of some kind, and so I'm going to be like, man, I wish I had kept that. So it's an ongoing thing. Even right now, I've like every semester that comes around, like, should this be this semester? Then I'm like, no, freelancing is it. This is
Hmm.
my job. You are a freelancer. Quit trying to run from it. But it's just, yeah, it's still there. Ultimately, I feel good about it because I've made extra money from that. At the very least, I've kind of just added to some kind of maybe little mini nest egg or something.
Hmm.
I don't know either way, but so I would encourage people, if they could find something like a part-time thing, something that gives you flexibility. I mean, the good thing about my stuff now is that luckily I've been able to switch over to online teaching, and that's been a huge relief, as you know, because
Hmm.
I was commuting an hour up to Kentucky twice a week. So 4 hours minimum, probably 4.5 hours of driving. And that was hard. I mean, that was hard to, I've got dogs, had to put the dogs up, and always constantly dealing with the wife when you get home from work and dinner. It was just like a mess, and just miles in the car, all that kind of stuff. But now that I've got this, it makes it a whole lot easier, and the writing can kind of just slip into,
Hmm.
or the teaching can kind of slip into the writing. It feels like one cohesive thing. So that's the goal. If you could find some kind of side thing that doesn't distract you, from what you're trying to do, then that's perfect. But yeah, it'd be hard if you're working a 9 to 5 job and then trying to freelance on top. That can get pretty strenuous.
That's what, when I left my last full-time job, that's what I was doing, is like in the evenings and the weekends trying
That's
to
hard, man.
get something going on till to build that like launch pad so that I can just be like, okay, I'm done. I'm doing this now. I'm
Yeah.
staying at home in my PJs and this is my
Yeah.
life now. So
Yeah, man, that's one of the benefits too is the PJs. And it's underrated. I
it
mean,
is. Well, I mean, this is the No Pants
yeah,
Academy, so like we get it.
yeah,
We're all
yeah.
about the no pants.
Oh yeah, totally. No pants is like, I mean, health insurance. What? No
Yeah,
pants. That's top of the list.
that's all
Oh.
you need.
The
So,
UPS guy comes to the door. I'm like, just let that guy drop it off. It's a no pants situation right now. Can't deal with it.
so with you mentioned the assignments that everybody's kind of clamoring for.
Yeah.
Are all of the jobs you get? Do people contact you now? Like, do they reach out to you, or is it more you kind of pitching yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question because it's so different for everybody, I feel like, in this line of work. At first, yeah, it was just a completely me pitching, just constantly trying to email editors and kind of build my name and prove who I was. And so I was just constantly emailing people all the time. And so it was all on me just to get those assignments. But now it's become basically the opposite because I've dealt with editors for a long time and certain editors and built those relationships and hopefully maybe because I'm a little bit better of a writer, I don't know for sure, but they I tend to it's more relationship based now. So I've got an editor at Billboard who I used to work with all the time, and he basically had to map out the section of the magazine. He edited the single reviews section, and so he knew he had these particular assignments, these particular songs he wanted reviewed, and so it was more of matching the writer to the assignment. So it's the same thing I think with a lot of uh, print magazines in particular. They know this is the space they have, and I've got X number of stories that can go in this particular issue. So it's important that I match the right person to this particular
Mhm.
story. So if they got a big cover story on this artist, they know they've probably already worked that out ahead of time. They probably already talked to the publicist, the management, and the artist, and they know that they're going to have that particular person on the cover. So it's not someone wouldn't pitch that like, hey, I want to write a cover story on this artist because that would be. I mean, they might get lucky and somehow that kind of works out, but probably not. Probably the editor is going to know because they've planned this, a month or two ahead of time at least. This person is going to be on the cover, so they'll find the right person for that. So now that's kind of the situation I'm in because I write for Rolling Stone on the website and do the news stuff for them. So that's almost a different. It's not even really freelancing in a way, even though it is technically. It's a strange thing because I'm not a staff writer by any means. They don't consider me technically an employee and not treated as such, pay or anything, and they demean me all the time. No, but it's technically freelancing, but it's consistent. So I have hours where I go on and I have a certain couple editors that I deal with, but then also through them, I've started writing for this one particular editor, doing interviews and list stories, top 10 kind of things. And so I've become sort of friendly with him. And sometimes he'll come to me with an idea because he knows my taste and what I like to write about. And we've developed a pretty good rapport. And same thing with Relics. That's one of the other places I write for right now, most consistently. My editor there, it's basically all him, which seems weird, but he knows this issue's coming up. So he'll say, hey, Ryan, want to interview this person? It'd be due in a month. And pretty much always say yes. So that's how it works now. It's weird because I'm so used to the hustle and the constantly having to prove myself. So it feels weird. Like I guess I've crossed some kind of threshold now where I feel like I have made it in a way because I don't have the constant anxiety of the pitching. I still do have some, but and I'm always trying to diversify and get clips elsewhere when I can. But yeah, that's how it is now. It's mainly them coming to me, but it's different for every person, I think, and what level of experience you have. If you're starting out, you're going to be pitching constantly, and that's going to be all your life. But again, it's just about those relationships. And once you get a few pieces with the place, they might start reaching out to you. And so it's kind of different for everybody.
Okay. So it sounds like you might have to do some hustling at the beginning,
Yeah.
writing for free just to kind of get out there and get some actual experience. Because we've got a lot of freelancers who might run, Facebook ads or build landing pages, and people want to see your portfolio. Like they want to see that, can you do what you say you can do?
Exactly. Yeah, that was how the case is for me. I was at least doing free stuff for a while. Yeah, like I said, just to build your resume, your portfolio, and then you can show somebody, here's what I can do, and then that's when they'll agree to take you on and pay you. Is when they can. It's not a risk for them. They can say,
Hmm.
okay, because if you have no clips, if you have nothing to show, then it's pretty much no one's going to give you work, at least in this line of work. And I think it applies to a lot of other freelancing too. That's a mistake I've seen people make too, is people who've started out that I've talked to, they aim too high, and
Hmm.
I'm guilty of it too. I mean, I was pitching Rolling Stone when I had no clips to my name. I knew it was probably not going to lead to anything, but
Hmm.
it just kind of makes you look dumb or like a little kid who's trying, hey, look at me, mister, I'd like to write. Like they're not going to give you work. You can't. You have to aim within, your radius basically.
Hmm.
And so that's that. The radius is always shifting a little bit as you go on. So yeah, you gotta be realistic and understand. Probably any freelancer, you're either going to have unpaid stuff for a while, or pretty low paying stuff for a while, and then it's just a matter of building and building.
Hmm. So what does your average day look like now?
Average day now, again, the no pants, just all day. No, sometimes. I get up. Every day is a little different because my schedule right now, where I'm doing the news stuff for Rolling Stone, that's consistent hours. I work 8:30 to 5 Monday and Wednesday, and then 8:30 to 1:30 on Friday. So those hours, I'll get up. I mean, I'm pretty lazy. I'll wake up at this sounds horrible. I'll wake sometimes at like 8:15 and roll out of bed half asleep, grab my laptop, throw it open, and like brush my teeth while I'm starting work. So I'm trying to get better about that and actually wake up a lot earlier so I'm not stressed. But so
Mhm.
yeah, I'll get up around that time, start working, and I'm working from home completely on Monday and Wednesday because I'm kind of tethered to the computer at that time, and
Mhm.
it's kind of hard to be like, oh, I'm going to head over to the library or something, and then with how my work is, I might lose an assignment or something, or I don't want to make my editor mad or just become a problem if I'm disconnecting for a little bit. So I'll stay on the
Mhm.
computer completely, like 9 hours basically at home those days, and yeah, just work. And then Tuesday, Thursdays, since my schedule, those are my days that are kind of just open to do other freelancing, whatever else is on my plate. If I've got reviews that need to be done, I'll try to do those on a Tuesday, Thursday. Other big, profiles or interview stuff I'm working on. And right now I'm working on a book too, so that's become my designated book days, Tuesday, Thursday, and then Friday afternoon I'll do kind of the same thing. I'll work on other random stuff once I'm done with my shift. And yeah, those days I'll try to get out of the house because I get pretty stir crazy too.
Mhm.
So I like to go to the local library or just anywhere that has internet that I can go and just be out of the house, because that's a problem for me. I don't. It's nice working from home. I really like it because of all the obvious things.
Mhm.
No pants,
Yeah.
but I like to get out and just stretch my legs and see new
Mhm.
stuff. So for me, it's important to like have maybe half the time at home, half somewhere else. Get out, because I think it helps me with my work too. I get just a blast of fresh air, I guess, and it makes me. I'll even go to the local park sometimes, and if the weather permits, and ride outside. So yeah, it's a little bit messy. Just I think any freelancer's
Mhm.
situation is probably like that, but uh, these days it's at least 50% at home on the laptop working like that, and being Mr. Mommy, I guess, with the dogs and
Mhm.
taking care of them, the cat. So yeah, it's pretty normal.
That's the thing I always tell prospective freelancers, like, oh, you get to work from home. And it's like, yeah, but it's kind of like you also live at work
Yeah,
because
exactly.
there's always something to kind of be doing. So it is like, we'll take a walk around the neighborhood, go to the park, like just get outside and away from the screen for a minute.
Yeah, it's really important. I remember my editor, yeah, actually, as my current editor at Rolling Stone, he told me back when I first started, he was like, make sure after each story you write to get up and stretch, get up and walk around.
Mm,
And sometimes I have to make myself do that because I'll forget, but just I'll walk outside and just stand for a minute and just like when you're obsessed with being on the computer, being like you said, work is home and just all that being intertwined, it can get kind of mentally unhealthy for me at least. So I have to like
mhm,
make myself, yeah, disconnect, unplug as much as I possibly can. Because yeah,
mhm.
I don't like the idea of work is always home. There needs to be some variance of that because it can, at least for me anyway. I mean, I'm a hermit to an extent, but I've got to have a little bit of separation because it'll drive me crazy.
Oh no, for sure. Kate and I went to a cabin last week in the middle of nowhere for a couple of days, and I was thinking we might have internet, but we didn't. And so the
Yeah,
first day it was really stressful because I just had a launch with a client, so I wanted to like check in, but I like literally couldn't. So that
yeah.
first night I was just like anxious kind of the
You're
whole night. But
going for the phone, but
yeah, but by day two, I just assumed everything was okay, and I checked in and everything went really well. But like it took probably 24 hours to be like, okay, things are, you don't have to put out fires, things are going to be okay,
yeah, yeah,
the world will go on.
yeah. I remember the worst for me was we've gone on this music cruise called Cruise to the Edge, and I've told you about that, but and it's really fun. It's like this progressive rock cruise that I've covered a couple times, actually 3 times now. And the first time it was so weird because it was a 5-day cruise and there's no internet unless you pay for it, and I'm not gonna pay for internet. Plus, I mean, part of the fun was supposed to be like disconnecting, but
Yeah.
it was so weird. I had to set up my like vacation thing on Gmail.
Mm,
Uh,
a little auto reply.
yeah, the auto reply thing, and it was so weird. It's like we're gonna go on a little voyage here.
All
Everybody
right.
follow me. My dogs are feisty. Again, working from home,
Working from home, the joys and the pains.
the joys and the pains.
Yeah.
You're gonna see my face disappear for 2 seconds, but I am still here. It was so weird on that cruise because it was just complete disconnection, no
Hmm.
email, no internet, nothing for 5 days, and it was just the strangest feeling. I had no idea what was going on, and then I got off the cruise ship, and my email was just, I mean, it was insane. I had probably 300 emails relating to just press releases and stuff I had to sort through and assignments that I would have gotten had I
Hmm.
not been on the ship. It was so frustrating. I knew I lost like $500 just going on this cruise now
Hmm.
because I could have taken on a bunch of work. So yeah, that's the thing that's so hard. It's like if you're not constantly plugged in, then sometimes you can either lose work or you can just, there are opportunities that slip by, but you have to make yourself think, no, this is what a normal person does. A normal
Hmm.
person's not constantly working.
Yeah.
It's so weird because you make your own hours like that. It's hard to know where to draw the line.
Hmm.
Like, should I take on this assignment? I could. It's money. It's money. I could either watch TV or I could work. I should just work, right? And then, like, no, I'm allowed to watch TV. I'm allowed to
Yeah.
just sit here. Yeah, it's a such a
It
weird life.
it is, and it's such like a balance because you've got the like the hustle 24/7 mentality, and then you've got the I'm in more of the camp of like I like the freedom, I like the flexibility. I
Yeah,
I want to watch Netflix in the evenings, like, but it's hard because if you get an email 8 o'clock, hey, can you do this? And yeah, like you said, technically you could, and then
yeah,
it makes you feel lazy because well, I want to watch, Game of Thrones, but I can
yeah,
make some money. And it's like, what do you do? But I think it is that boundary of either having like a stopping point general area, like we try to usually quit by, like normal people, 5 or 6 in the evening, and then
yeah,
get away from the emails and the phones.
yeah.
But
It's so weird. Yeah, I think it's just. everybody's got a different metric for that, but I'm trying to get better. Jen, my wife, she's constantly babysitting me in a way. Like I'll agree to assignments, and then she'll say, "Why did you do that? Like we're supposed to go on a trip next week." And like, yeah, but I can do it in the car, or I'll do it like right when we get there, and then I'm done, and then we'll hang out. I promise. I won't do any more work.
And then it takes
Like,
longer than you think, or it's just
yeah,
like harder than you think, and then you're like, this was dumb.
yeah, and I end up working half the day, and then she's mad at me. It's a whole thing. And I guess
Yeah.
I could have just said no from the beginning. I would have more fun. So it's like one of the weirdest things that I wasn't expecting is sometimes you have more work than you can handle. I did
Hmm.
not expect that to be the problem. I thought if anything, I was going to be scraping so much that I'd be like
Hmm.
desperate for an assignment. But it's like when you're lucky and when you, I guess, build your name enough and you've
Hmm.
gotten enough work from it, then sometimes it's like, when do I say no? That's like, I don't think freelancers know how to do that sometimes, but man, I'm trying to learn how to do that more and more as time goes on because it's important, I think.
Yeah, for sure. But we've always got that scarcity mindset. So it's kind of, okay, well, you got to get it while it's good, go ahead and take on everything in case it ebbs and flows. And
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
you ever considered just like giving it up and getting a 9 to 5 teaching full time?
Since I've started getting really consistent work and making enough from it to where I feel pretty good about myself, I haven't thought about it at all. I
Hmm.
felt like this is it. Now that fear is always there, and that I don't know if that's partly just because of me too. Maybe other people who are in my shoes would just be happy with it and
Hmm.
completely not worried 1%. But I definitely do not have no interest in doing anything else. So I feel really, but there is in the back of my head that never quite goes away. That you know
Hmm.
wouldn't be a bad idea if you picked up work on a Saturday or something. Like I'm always planning for the apocalypse. It really is like
Hmm.
this zombie mentality. I'm like, one of these days I'm going to be out there. I'll be wielding my stick and like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. But no, right now I feel like I've never really thought about it. That's the only thing is that the adjunct teaching, I've still got that. So in a way it's like I kind of do have another job, but yeah,
Hmm.
the 9 to 5 thing, as long as it keeps up, man, I have no interest. If something dried up with the music journalism, then I would try to write in some other capacity. I try to freelance some other way. I've gotten so used to this. I think
Hmm.
as long as I can keep doing it and it makes sense, then I'm gonna keep going with it.
I think it will be hard to go back to, you have to be here at a certain time and you have to, do certain things on this schedule. And because at my last job, I would tell everyone, I wish that I could get paid by my output rather than the amount of time I'm here. Because if I come in and work 2x what everyone else does and we all get paid the same, like I would rather, because with the job now, it's like we can get up and like just bust our humps for 4 hours and be done for the day. If we get our project done, it doesn't matter if it takes us 12 hours or 4 hours, we get, paid for the project.
Yeah, it's such a weird. I remember my wife says it all the time. Jen will say, like, I wish there was something else I could do to make money. It makes her feel bad because
Mm-hmm.
the way like freelancing, you can just constantly take on work. So I'm always making extra money and doing all these little things, working like Grammy night shifts at Rolling Stone, and I'll make some extra money doing that or doing these things here and there, and I'll be excited. I'll tell her like, hey, I got another $250, sweet, and then she'll be mad. She'll be like, well, I can't do that. That's not fair. I just make what I make. I'm like, well, it sucks for you. No, not really. But yeah, it's a weird thing because some of the advantages of freelancing, or you could look at them as advantages or disadvantages. Like, is it
Mm-hmm.
good that you can always make more money, or is that a bad thing because you don't have the kind of disciplined? No, you're done at 5 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. It's a give and take, and what some people might look at as a positive, some people look at as a negative. But I think if you know that you're interested in the freelance thing, then you probably know what you're getting into to an extent. So, I mean, I look at all this stuff as positives that you can constantly work if you want to. I mean, it's just the problem is like discipline. You have to learn to say no and learn to unplug and kind of detox yourself a little bit.
Yeah, the digital Sabbath every now and
Yeah.
then, just like to unplug. And
Yeah, that's the hardest thing for me is just, can I say no? I feel like if I say no to an assignment sometimes that,
then the next time that maybe they won't come to
yeah,
you, and then
I literally just did that about, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. I had an editor who came to me with a story, and because I'm working on this book, I've had to cut out a lot of freelancing, and it's been so painful for me because I'm just not used to that. And I'm normally either pitching, or accepting every assignment that comes my way. Literally everything. I almost never say no as long as it's something I'm comfortable doing. And I've had to say no sometimes. It's so weird. And I'll apologize profusely. And like, I promise you, please don't, like, this doesn't
cut
mean
me off the list.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to come back as soon as I'm done with this. And I don't know if the editor's thinking, man, what is this dude's problem? He's probably, what's he freaking out about? I break up with him, but I just feel so nervous about that kind of thing. But you have to learn that it's okay. Opportunities will still be there, but as long as you've got those relationships, they'll be okay. But yeah, it's a weird sensation saying no.
So I want to take kind of a quarter turn here. I wanted to make sure that we covered interviewing, since I'm interviewing you, and I mean, you do it professionally, like you're an expert. So
Well, by default, maybe.
So do you still get nervous? And, do you think that comes across? You try to play it cool, like you've interviewed some really big names. So do you still get nervous? Does it depend on the person? Like, how does that go? What is your, like, so all of that, plus also, how do you prep for them?
Yeah.
What's your process?
Yeah. In terms of getting nervous, it's gotten better. It's weird. It gets better every single one almost. I remember when I first started doing it, oh man, I was petrified, like shaking. Hey, hello there. How did you record that song? And sometimes it would be, and almost every time, even if I do get nervous at all, it's that first question, first two questions. And then it's like with anything, I guess, once you start the flow of it, then you get less nervous. But yeah, in the beginning, I was really nervous. And because I ironically, even though I teach public speaking now, which is just, it's mind blowing when I think about that, because that was my number one fear for sure, is public speaking. And yeah, it's weird that I teach that and I interview people for a living, but yeah, I was very, very nervous. And now usually I'm fine. Just maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes before the interview, my heart will start racing a little bit. I'll kind of get the butterflies, especially if it's one that I'm putting a lot of stock into. Either it's a big interview for me, like a big paying job, or it's somebody that I really admire. Like I just interviewed Beck, the musician, the other day, and because it was a huge feature story I wrote for Relics, and like a 3,200 word story. So it was a big, big story. And I just love Beck. I've loved Beck since I was a little kid. So I never interviewed him before. It was like the perfect storm of nervousness, like lot riding on it. He's hugely famous. You really like his work. And it was just all this kind of pressure. So like right before, man, my heart was beating out of my chest, and I was kind of like, hey, Beck, a little nervous in the first question. And then like, as soon as it took off, I was fine. But so yeah, every once in a while I'll still get those jitters. So I don't think that ever quite goes away. And I think, I don't know, maybe it does for some people, but I think it's almost healthy in a way. I even teach this in public speaking. Like it's okay to be a little bit jittery, because sometimes that gives you adrenaline that you can use. And it definitely doesn't mean that you're going to be half-hearted. If you're like a little jittery about it, it means you're ready for it, and you're not going to just sleepwalk through the interview. So I think it's okay. And
yeah, I've heard that as well. That if you're not a little worried or a little nervous, then you're not going to prepare. You're not really going to be like amped up. You're just going to kind of show up, and it's going to be kind of lackluster.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. And I've watched and heard some interviews that feel like that, where the person is just not really done their research. They've not
Hmm.
really prepped that much. They kind of feel ambivalent about it. So uh, if you're feeling a little nervous, sorry, I'm gonna try to get the more light in here. I feel like are you afraid of the dark or something? But if you're a little nervous, I think that's okay.
Hmm.
Uh, what
Do
was the
you,
other? You asked me something about the interviewing.
yeah,
I already forgot.
do you like prep as far as like do you write out your questions beforehand? You just kind of go with the flow?
Yeah, I try to do a good balance. I think that's a good question too, because it's everybody's a little different, but I try to do as much prep as possible before, just
Hmm.
kind of immerse myself in. For me, it's always going to be either a musician or a kind of celebrity, a filmmaker or something. So I'll try to, if it's a musician, I'll listen to everything I possibly can, listen to their new album they're promoting as much as I can. Uh, and if it's someone I don't know as well, again, I'll go back and listen to their whole catalog as much as I possibly can. Just get immersed in it, read other interviews they've done, just so that I feel comfortable. Even if I didn't have questions down, I feel like at that point I could probably just have a conversation with them.
Hmm.
But then I'll still go ahead and write down specific things that I know that I'm going to build into my story. So if there's going to be if there's something in the press release that's interesting that I feel like is worth asking about, if there's a particular song that I really like, that something weird about the song that I think is notable, just I'll write down sometimes even just little guideposts, like just a couple words that might not necessarily a phrased question, but just a bullet point or something that I want to
Hmm.
touch on. And sometimes you'll organically get to that anyway, and you won't have to ask it just through conversation. And other times, especially if it's someone who's a little awkward and doesn't really like doing the interviews, then
Hmm.
you have to kind of push them a little bit. So it depends on the artist, but I'll usually get at least 20 questions or 20 bullet points, 20 things there that I can use. But I don't like having super super scripted questions. I feel like
Hmm.
it's really awkward. On this track, you say that
Yeah.
blank blank blank, which conflicts with. I don't like it being. That's just not my interview style. I guess for some people
Hmm.
that's really what works for them, but it makes me more nervous if I feel like I'm reading a script or something.
Hmm.
Uh, I guess some people do that really well, but not me. So I like to make it a little more organic and let the conversation go somewhere, especially if it's for me, I've got two kinds of structure. Sometimes I write in a Q&A style in the finished piece where it's just literally question answer going down the page. Other times
Hmm.
it's where it's a narrative style piece that I'm building and using those quotes to kind of get a structure from that. So
Hmm.
especially if it's a Q&A where it's just literally whatever we say, I'm going to type out and edit a little bit. Then I'll even let it diverge as much as possible. Like I just interviewed Danny Harrison, George Harrison's son.
Hmm.
Um, he's a musician. A lot of people don't know that his stuff actually. He's just kind of just put out his first real solo album. But I interviewed him, and I had a lot of questions, ton of questions, and some of them I got in there. But he was such an interesting guy, and we just started talking, and we ended up talking about UFOs. We talked about because there were some things that related to his songs, like the lyrics and what inspired them. We ended up talking about just all kinds of random stuff that I never even would have known to even prep for. So
Hmm.
I like to leave the door open as much as possible. So if they say something interesting, even if that's not on my list of questions, I'll follow up on that trail and be like,
Hmm.
"Oh, well, you said that. Well, what exactly did you mean by that?" Or how did that come about? And sometimes you'll get more interesting stuff that way that you never would have expected.
Hmm.
So, like, if you go and you read my Rolling Stone Q&A with him, I think even in the headline, it's like Danny Harrison talks UFOs, missile tests, all this random stuff. That was like the meat of my story was
Hmm.
the stuff that I never even knew was going to be part of my interview. So, yeah, I like to leave the door open, leave wiggle room, and follow the trail of the conversation. But you always have to have stuff ready, especially if it's somebody who you have to prod a little bit to get them out of their shell. And that's happened a lot where people either just aren't interested really. They're kind of being forced to do the interview, and you have to warm them up,
Hmm.
maybe win them over. So it's a balance. I think that's how I do things.
Have do you have one interview that went the worst? Just like either based on
Oh, man.
their involvement or, technical issues. Does anything stand out, or are there too many?
Oh man, I've got some doozies. There's okay, just even you saying technical issues made me think of a couple things. One, this is embarrassing. I wouldn't recommend anyone do this, but I've done a few interviews just wherever I can do them. So especially when I used to teach up in Kentucky and I was driving, commuting,
Hmm.
and I know and I'm done with class at 4:15, and I got an interview at 4:30, and that's exactly like the publicist couldn't push it any later. I'm like, oh crap, I guess I got to do it because I'm gonna lose the gig if I don't do it. So I
Yeah.
would finish teaching. All right, great, everybody have a great class, and then sprint out to my car, set up my microphone, my laptop, and I'd be sitting in my little sedan where like people are coming to their cars, unlocking their cars, and look over and they see me talking.
Mhm.
They think I'm a lunatic.
Yeah.
So that happened numerous times. But one time I remember I didn't plan ahead, and I didn't have my phone charger with me. So I'm doing all these interviews on the phone for the most part, and I had to. It was so embarrassing. So I drove part of the way home because it was an hour away, and I knew it made most sense for me to already go ahead and drive a little bit because I didn't want to wait till 5 o'clock, and then that'll delay me getting home. So I just drove part of the way, pulled off at this random like truck stop, and started doing the interview. And like I said, my phone was, I think I had 12% battery on my phone,
Mhm.
and I didn't have. I was freaking out, like my charger's not here, and this was the last time I could do the interview. Thing was due, I think, in 2 days. I mean, this is it, no choice. So I started. My phone battery was awful. I did the interview, got probably 8 of my questions, and my phone dies. And I'm trying, like, just so you know, man, my phone's good. And it died, and that's it. And I couldn't do anything else because it was too late. I mean, there was no. I emailed the publicist and said, "Is there any way we can do a quick follow up, maybe through email, or is there anything I can do?"
Mhm.
Nope, that's it. And luckily, I had enough from what I'd already done to
Mhm.
kind of scrape the interview together, scrape the piece together. But man, it was tight. I barely pulled that piece together. I mean, I got it was so frustrating. I missed like all my good questions. I've done interviews in McDonald's parking lot and people walking up to me and like tapping on the window. Just weird stuff has happened to me.
Mhm.
Uh, the worst that I can think of, just in terms of the actually what happened, the content of the conversation was, I can't even remember the band. I guess that would be mean to name them anyway, but
Yeah.
it was some random indie rock band that honestly I don't even think I knew them very well. My editor asked,
Mhm.
will you interview this band? I said, okay, sure. They seemed fine enough, kind of garage rock type thing. And so I interviewed them, called the guy up, the guitarist, and he doesn't answer. And this happens sometimes anyway. I've almost just come to expect it. They might not answer the first time you call because it's just some random Tennessee number. Half these people are from New York or
Mhm.
something, and maybe they're going to wait for me to leave a voicemail and call me back.
Mhm.
So they didn't answer. Thought, okay, that's no big deal. Call back, like I usually wait 10 minutes or something. Maybe they're in the bathroom, taking a shot. You never know. So
Mhm.
I call back 10 minutes later, no answer. Okay, that's starting to get a little annoying because I got stuff to
Mhm.
do today. But all right, I'll wait a minute. Email the publicist, hey, what's going on? Like, just we're supposed to interview at 11 o'clock. Where is he? Call back probably 5 times, leave voicemails, nothing. Finally, I get the guy to answer, and he sounds like he's completely hungover.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not sure exactly what was going on, but he was like, who is this? Like, oh, this is Ryan Reed. I'm with whatever, trying to call you for the interview. Are you still free? What? And he told me, I can't remember what he said. He used some like expletive and told me to like screw myself. I'm not sure exactly what he said, and
Oh
hung
my
up.
gosh.
And so I couldn't do the interview. I had to email the publicist and say, just so you know, your person was really rude to me just now, and
Mhm.
phone. So it just didn't happen. I had to cancel the assignment. I'm not sure what they ended up doing that issue. It was from the local alt weekly here in town. It used to be called Metro Pulse here in Knoxville. I don't know what they did, but yeah, the whole thing was just, I was mad 'cause I lost money. The whole thing was just like a disaster. I wasted my time. Probably spent an hour and a half trying to contact this guy. Hey, he had the gall to tell me to whatever. Probably his actual words. 1 second. Yeah, so that has to be one of the all-time worst. I've had some really bad interviews where people are just not very talkative, and you have to really goad them to answer anything. That's happened a lot, where people are just super awkward and don't want to tell you anything, or they won't answer your questions because they're just being weird about it. So yeah, I've had the whole gamut of bad stuff, but then you have enough good ones that it balances it.
So I know you interviewed Mark Frost last week, and I remember you had said something about he was a little cagey with his answers just because the writer of Twin Peaks, so there's a lot of mystery and unsolved things around that. So was he just like really short answers, just didn't really want to talk about it?
Yeah, I almost mentioned that too, but I was like, well, I wouldn't consider that a bad interview, but it is a weird one a little bit because, and Ron can relate to this. I don't know if anyone watching this is a Twin Peaks fan, but that show is so, and I love the show, but it can be frustrating because of just the amount of mysteries that are left up in the air, dangling, and so my approach was, I've never interviewed this guy before. I may never interview him again. I don't know. And this is coming right off the heels of the third season that just aired, and so much stuff was unanswered, and a lot of fans were frustrated. And I thought, I'm going straight at this.
Go for it.
I'm going to ask him. I don't care what happens, even just if it's for my own personal satisfaction. I'm going to ask him some questions. That way, I can't say I didn't try. So I straight up asked him, like, what were you going for with this? I would picked apart probably 10 scenes. What was this supposed to mean? Or I would try to phrase it to where it wasn't just tell me
accusatory.
Yeah, I would try to maybe slip it in a way that was complimentary, and just try to, like, maybe he would accidentally spill the beans in a way. No, I don't want to say like that. It's not like I was trying to do gotcha questions or something, but just maybe he would tell me some stuff if I phrased it correctly and people would like to hear. So he was just, he wasn't rude by any means. He was very friendly, but just, he could tell that I was just a fan who wanted to know stuff. He just kind of laughed at me a lot and was like, I'm sorry, I can't tell you that, or no comment.
Yeah.
I think I asked him about, are you going to do a season 4 of the show? You know, have you even talked to his partner in the show, David Lynch? Have you guys talked about what it would even look like if you were to do it? You know, I know you might not do it, or it might be a long time, but what would it even look like if you had that conversation? No comment.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of that kind of stuff.
Is that a typical response you get? No comment? It's like something out of the movie. Just I plead the fifth.
Yeah, it seems like a very generically, like, journalistic answer or something.
Yeah.
I've never really had anybody do that. That's the first time I feel like I've asked about, like, classified information that people not comment at this time. Speaking about lawyer. So yeah, he was. I think KG is the best word. He was still. I think that interview, hopefully, is coming up today because it's. This is Halloween. So yeah, party on. But yeah, hopefully I'll get to see that soon because I'm not sure exactly what that piece is going to look like. I'm kind of nervous, but hopefully people will at least respect my what am I looking for here? My confidence at asking him some questions straight up.
I think all the Twin Peaks fans out there will at least appreciate that. Well, he gave it, the old college try. He honestly, he tried to help us out. It didn't work out, but that's okay.
I was trying to give it that old university try. That's all you can do.
That's all you can do.
I tried.
So do you have any upcoming interviews or like projects you're like just super excited about? I know you mentioned your book.
Yeah, that's right now. That's the biggie. And that's actually, I'm getting ready to go. And this kind of ties into a topic we discussed earlier too. I'm getting ready to go to my parents have a lake house. Ron, you've been there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of nice. It's out down on kind of it's in Tennessee, but on a lake, so it's kind of peaceful. And I'm going to go there for a few days and try to disconnect a little bit from
Mm-hmm.
other distractions. And I feel bad I'm leaving Jen here at home, but just to try to focus on my book completely and just, not that I'm not Netflix sitting there and
Mm-hmm.
calling my name too much, but so I'm going to go down there. But yeah, and that's coming up the end of this year. I have to have it turned in, the manuscript. So that's the big project. I'm writing a book about Fleetwood Mac for Backbeat Books. It's, Hal Leonard, and they have all kinds of pop culture books for the series called FAQ, and that's the big thing I'm working on right now, is trying to get that finished. So that's due at December 31st, and once I'm done with that, then my schedule opens up a lot, and I can go back to doing just more heavy freelancing like I'm
Mm-hmm.
used to doing. But besides that, it's crazy. I have literally nothing on my agenda until the end of the year right now. Except, well, take that back. I do have one thing I'm interviewing, and it's kind of a big one. Steve Hackett, who is the former guitarist of Genesis back in the 70s. So he's one of my heroes, as I mentioned, loving Genesis. I'm interviewing him to promote the Cruise to the Edge that I mentioned earlier that I've gone on. I'm going on that again in February. So I'm interviewing him as a little promotional thing, but I don't know when that is going to happen. That's literally the only thing I have for the next 2 months currently. Something could pop up between now and then. Usually it does, kind of last minute, but
just trying to keep it open so you can work on the book more.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep things completely, because the deadline's coming up, and I've still got a good 9 chapters or so to write. So I'm trying to keep things free. It's so hard though. This is taking so much mental energy just to do not pitch that. I'll get online and see something cool, but like normal responses, oh, I'll pitch an interview around that, or I'll try to review that. Like, you're not allowed.
So with the
the
Fleetwood Mac book, did you pitch it, or did they contact you? Like, how did that opportunity come about?
Very weird how that came about. And the timing is weird too, because this was, I think, gosh, I've been writing this book so long now. It feels like it's been like a decade ago that I started it. I think this was 2015, midway through the year, late 2015. I can't remember exactly when that was now. I started to think to myself, like, I really want to write a book. I think that's the next step in a way of what I want to do. Not that I've achieved everything I want to do in journalism or anything, not by a long shot, but I feel like I'd gone to Rolling Stone was always the dream of where I wanted to get to. And obviously there's more I can do, but I feel pretty comfortable there. It's a weird feeling being comfortable, like, as a freelancer. Like, am I losing the hunger or something?
Yeah.
So I thought, like, I really do want to write a book. I think that'd be a cool challenge. Never done it. It'd be really hard for me because I've never done anything like that. And so I had already started researching and trying to figure out, how could I do this? What could I write a book about? It's going to be something pop culture-y because that's what I love. But how would I do that? How do you even go about it? I mean, I knew nothing about this kind of thing at all. Like, do I have to have an agent? Do I have to kind of pitch a book like I would an article? I mean, I knew nothing. And then out of the blue, I got an email from a literary agent, and it was kind of mysterious at first. At first, I seriously almost deleted the email because I thought it was spammy, because it was a random person, and it was on my Hotmail account, which I don't really use for work purposes. I still have it, and I still get like email press releases and stuff there. But I got this email from this guy, and the subject matter was book idea. I thought that just seemed like pure. It's gonna be like, here, I'll let you write a book and you pay me $20, and then I'll get it public. So I almost didn't read it, but I clicked on it because I thought that's weird timings. I'd just been talking about a book, and he said, like, I've got a potential thing here if you want to write a book about Fleetwood Mac. And I was like, well, yeah, tell me some more details and like to hear about it. And so basically how it worked was, he was working sort of on behalf of the publisher. They had worked with him in the past because he had some of his writers, his clients at his literary agency had worked and written books in this particular series called FAQ. So I guess they sort of trusted him to find the writers, either if he already had a writer who could do it on his roster or if he knew somebody who could do it. So I still to this day don't really know. I've not really talked about him. I didn't want to question it too much because I felt like I would be discrediting myself somehow. But I don't really know why he picked me. Still don't really know. But I'm assuming he Googled Fleetwood Mac stuff and just stumbled upon some of my articles because I've written about Fleetwood Mac a few times. I reviewed a couple of their albums, like reissues, and wrote about Rolling Stone stuff, like news articles about their tours and this and that. So I'm guessing he just saw all that and probably saw that I wasn't some big established writer who had to have, a ton of money to write a book. He probably thought this guy would, he would be willing to, for his first book, not get paid a whole lot. And, because it's the pay is not tremendous, to be honest. But so I'm guessing that's what led him to me. But he just, he reached out and said, "Do you want to do it?" And we talked on the phone a couple times. And I said, "Yeah, I'd like to take it on." So I wrote this big proposal. That was the first challenge. I had to map out basically the entire book, every single chapter, what it was going to be. Had to write a big thing introducing myself, my credentials, my vision for the book, and I had to write a couple sample chapters too that would go in the book. So I did that. That took quite a while because I was doing that on top of my normal freelancing and teaching. So that was quite an undertaking. But then I submitted that and I had to wait probably a couple weeks or something. And then they gave me the green light, and that's basically it. It's weird how it kind of just came about like that. I had to obviously do the work and writing the proposal, and that was a huge deal. That probably was at least a 12,000 word thing. But in terms of trying to find the opportunity, it fell in my lap. I'm pretty lucky about that. So we'll see how the book turns out. I'm still got about 9-10 chapters left to write, but I don't know if that's going to lead to a new avenue in my life where I'm going to be writing books now. If I'm going to keep trying to go about that, if I'm going to, or I don't know. I don't want to abandon my journalism stuff too. So this is going to be an interesting. 2018 is going to be weird because I'll see how the book does, and it's weird because I'm going to be interviewed, I think, for the book. That's going to be odd, but I don't know. It's just going to be a strange time, but we'll see how it goes.
So the book is launching next year?
Yeah, I'm not sure on the date. They still haven't given me the official date, but it's supposed to be spring 2018. So I'm assuming March, April, something around there. And yeah, my book's due at December 31st. So this next 2 months officially now, it's going to be a scramble to the finish line, but I've got no choice. I'm going to have to work nights and weeks. It's going to be normally, I guess a normal person would have gotten the book probably finished by now and then just spent the next 2 months sort of refining it and editing it and whatnot. But not me. I'm a procrastinator. So here I am writing the book at the very end, but it'll be good. It's going to be a stressful couple months, but we'll see how it turns out.
It's exciting to see kind of the journey from working for free, writing to whoever, to people actually reaching out and contacting you and wanting you to write it.
Yeah, it's surreal in a way. I still can't believe that's happened like this. But I mean, in my defense, I guess I have worked pretty hard at it. I mean, the writing for free thing, I think, was the key. I wrote most of my bad stuff, I think, when it was for free. I kind of got the worst of me out of the system in the beginning. I think that's how most people are. You get better as you go on, and as you start making more money from it, hopefully the writing is better and you put more time and thought into it. So yeah, it's crazy, but here we are. I guess it's been about 7 years now, but piece by piece, it's working out. Hopefully it keeps going.
So that wraps it up pretty cleanly, but if you could give one more piece of parting advice to the freelancers, a lot of them are trying to, merge their passion with with a technical skill. They're truly trying to make it. So based on, your 7 years, everything you've done, if somebody's wanting to get started in freelancing or especially starting in writing, like
Yeah.
what would you tell them?
I mean, I would definitely, I mean, I already said this a couple times, but I would have a backup for sure. I think for me, it's too risky. Maybe there's more adventurous people than me who are just going to quit their job 100% and go just plunge straight into it and just devote all their time. And that might be, in some people's case, the way it works out perfectly. But I like the idea of having a backup. I like, either you're going to do it like you said you did at first, just on the nights and weekends. You got to just go hard for a while, really hustle on the side, and might eat into your social life or something, but that might be how you have to do it. Or you have some kind of part-time job, and then you can do this part of the time too. Maybe you don't make quite as much money at first, but if it's what you're passionate about, then it's worth it. But I know I've talked to a couple people who have done the just rip off the Band-Aid and they go straight into the freelancing, and just it horrifies them, and they don't make enough money, so they quit. Like, well, that's probably why it didn't work out. It's because you were expecting too much at once. So I think it's the smartest move, financially, and just so you don't get burned out and frustrated, to ease into it, And if you got to do the unpaid stuff for a while, do it. And I know some people who build websites and stuff, and they do it for free for a while. And then, like, there's somebody at my wife's work who built, or I don't know if he volunteered to do it. I don't know. He was working on their website. That's what he wanted to get into, is like web design. So he did it for free, and then he's going to have that on his resume. Look at this website that I designed. And they're not going to know he did it for free, but it looks great. And just stuff like that, just taking your opportunities when you can get them. Don't look any gig. Don't look a gift gig in the mouth. Horrible way to phrase that. But, you know what I'm saying? If somebody wants to pay you or give you an assignment, and even if it's not your dream assignment at first, it's still work. You're going to get better at that skill, no matter what it is, just from the practice of it. Yeah, and just be willing to take on stuff maybe you wouldn't have even expected. I mean, I wrote about some artists maybe at first that I wouldn't necessarily have written about, just because I was hungry and I wanted to get some assignments, and it ended up like it's expanded my ideas of even music too. I've started writing about more and more metal now than I ever thought I would, and I've always loved metal, but that was never my favorite genre. But now I write for a magazine called Revolver. That's a metal magazine. I just started writing for them a few months ago, and I've loved metal a lot more now even than I used to. And I'm getting assignments about metal. I never would have thought that was the case, but just because I've allowed myself to try it out and kind of go more down that road, now it's become a bigger part of my life. I mean, I wrote something about Marilyn Manson a while back, and he was never somebody I even thought I liked. I kind of didn't really know if I even respected his work that much, but then I started listening to stuff more like, actually, I kind of like Marilyn Manson more than I thought I did, and then wrote the piece, and then that ended up writing that piece that led to another story because somebody read that story and said, hey, you wrote about this. So it's just sometimes the domino effect, and if you take on one project, it can lead to something new. I mean, I think this book that I'm writing came about just because of some of the other things that I've written. It's all just a roll of the dice sometimes. So in order to maximize your opportunities, I think it's good to just diversify yourself, write for as many places as you can, or freelance for as many places as you can. Just build a portfolio, build something that can branch out into all different kinds of things. So I don't know if that's huge advice for people, but
no, I think that's perfect. It's take on every opportunity, because it is like this, you build momentum eventually. Because I know when I first started, it was like, kind of piecemeal here, little things here, there, but then you start getting referrals and somebody recommends somebody else, and you can go online and you've got a website or portfolio examples of your stuff. And it's so much easier to seem legitimate than when you first start out and you're like just a blip on the radar.
Some person cold emailing somebody. It's so much different. And again, like I said before, I think it's the relationships that weirdly matter. I didn't expect that to matter, but you get in well with an editor or some project manager, somebody who's giving you the work, they like your work, they're going to give you more work. They're, like you said, refer you to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
It's just once you've proven that you're reliable, you do things on time, and you're someone they can count on to do quality work. A lot of that's just through doing it a while, but opportunities are going to come that you wouldn't expect. So I always try to take an opportunity if I can, if it's something that I feel confident about. And you never know, one thing leads to something else that you never would have expected sometimes.
Absolutely. Awesome. Ryan, this has been a ton of fun. I know a ton of good, valuable advice here. If anybody wants to read some of your reviews or check out, I know you also play and produce music. So to check out any of your music or your reviews, like where can we send them?
You can, if you want to listen to my music. It's sad I don't actually know the URL, but if you just search Ryan Reed Bandcamp,
okay,
look up on Bandcamp, you can find me on there. There's an album, the last album I created was called The Goon. So I don't know if there are multiple Ryan Reeds out there, but I'm the only one who has an album called The Goon randomly. Okay. So that's me. And writing wise, again, I'm a bunch of different places, but the main one these days is Rolling Stone. So if you search Ryan Reed Rolling Stone, you can find my contributor page on there. And like I said, doing the news stuff, I'm on the site, not every day, but close to it. So you can see my work on there. And then Relics, I write right now a lot for Relics. You can Google and find me on there too. Just kind of all over the map. But Rolling Stone's my main gig these days. So yeah, hopefully check out some of my stuff on there. If you like it, then I'm very pleased. I've done my
Awesome. So we'll check out Ryan Reed. We'll listen to The Goon and just rock it. I think that, did I play something on that?
Oh yeah, I should have. That's how rude of me.
Yeah. Oh, and then
Jonathan McKnight played guitar on 2 tracks on The Goon. You'll be able to. I've got all the credits on there. If you want to hear some beautiful spacey electric guitar,
solid,
Mr. McKnight, you can check out his work. And we're going to be collaborating. One of these days, we're actually going to put an album together, an EP, something. We keep talking about it, but
I think we should hop off of here and then schedule that out.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do another conference, or we'll just play guitar the whole time.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. Well, Ryan, thanks again. This has been awesome, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.